then the Humility of Mary sisters found out that we were coming to town, and we were only going to start on the 18th. And they said, you can't come to town unless we have a prayer service. We have to get together. And so these two sisters in their mid-80s organized this whole thing. And we had over 300 people at the Holy Trinity Church. And it was this awesome beginning. It was a blessing of this trip. And now we're getting towards the end. So on July 2nd, we're going back and doing an interfaith prayer service to celebrate the end of the trip and whatever is next. It has been an awesome, sacred event. So that's kind of how we got into this. It's a total surprise. It's a total trust in help, and just knowing to ask for help, and then trusting, letting help be help. But it has been an awesome thing. And this whole village that has made this possible, Anne and her posse that has really, made it possible here at Hershey against some strong obstacles, I might say, it's just such an amazing gift. And over across on our trip, we've seen that happen. So now we want to share a bit about the story of what we've experienced, right, girls? Okay, so first up is going to be our newest member. This is her maiden voyage at a fundraiser. So Sister Diane Guerin, a Sister of Mercy, and she's going to talk a little bit about why she's on the bus, what matters, and if she has any little insights so far.
Wow, it's so nice to be here. I'm from Philadelphia, just down the road there. I'm the Justice Coordinator for the Mid-Atlantic region of the Sisters of Mercy. And we've belonged to Network since forever, I think. And when I received the email about the bus, I never really asked my team, I sort of tell them. So I sent an email to my team and I said, look at this email. I said, I'm going to send an email that I want to be on the bus. And that if I can't be on the bus, then I'm going to help with whatever we can do in Philadelphia. I ended up, I'm doing both because we set up work together in Philadelphia, 3 of us. So they were a little concerned, but I don't know why. But they said, well, yeah, we think that would be all right. And then they really were overwhelming, yes, go. And I guess for me, being on the bus is very important for me because as the Justice Coordinator, all of the things that especially are in the Ryan budget and the health care and really all the things we care about as Catholic sisters and especially as Sisters of Mercy, we have critical concerns and they're all part of our critical concerns. And so I really felt that I'm passionate about these issues and I wanted to be here. And for me, I think, and I look at my own family, I'm not sure everybody knows everything that's in all of these bills or understands everything that's there. Not that I do either, but together we sort of figure it out. And I think it's really important that people understand that and know what's at risk. I don't think people always do. And so being from Philadelphia, there are Quakers in Philadelphia, and they do teach-ins around issues all the time. And they have a phrase that is, each one teach one. And so that was sort of what I thought about coming on this trip, that, we need to educate one another, and we need to have a dialogue and hear what people have to say. And the other thought that keeps running through my mind, especially with the budget, is that there are a lot of people left out. Yep. There are a lot of people not there, not at the table, not even considered. And we're really about inclusion and about a community. And to leave people out is not right. Yep. It's not right. Everybody needs to be included. It's about the common good. And the thought that I've been having, and I shared when we prayed this morning a little bit, and I guess I take this to myself also, that we really need to look at how much is enough. Sometimes we keep wanting more and more and more, and there are people who have nothing. So for me, that's a little reflection about how much is enough, and how do we share what we have with one another. So I'm new on the bus. Today was a very exciting day with the healthcare, and I have to say, the first moment, I'll just share this because there are other people. The first moment, I took the train to Pittsburgh on Tuesday, I think it was, and arrived Tuesday night, and the Mercies picked me up, and I stayed at Cardo College with them. And the next morning, I was going to meet the bus at Representative Murphy's office. And Jean Murin's driving down the street, and we're driving along, and I went, "There's the bus!" And she said, "There's the bus." So we pulled over, and she got a parking place, and I'm running up to the bus, knocking on the door, and they weren't going to open because they didn't know who I was. I'm coming with you. So we
I
got
wasn't there at the time.
Oh, that's right. A little disclaimer here. And so I got on the bus, and we were headed like 5 minutes later to Representative Murphy's office. And I must say, was my first experience, and the people, there were so many people with signs, and there were priests there coming up to us, and that, like, coming from Philadelphia, that was like revelatory to me. But anyway, and so yeah, so actually I was overwhelmed. I was so overwhelmed by the response of the people, and when we got off the bus, just like here tonight when you welcomed us. So for me, that was just, it's just amazing. And so the common good, we're all in this together.
Amen. And it's great to have new people because it helps us remember. You can kind of get, oh yeah, they always do that, don't worry about it. I mean, not that we can get jaded about the whole thing, but it is an awesome, overwhelming experience. So Sister Diane, who's in my same community, Sisters of Social Service, she's from Los Angeles. She's come the longest distance to be a part of this and has been on the bus since Des Moines. And do you want to talk a little bit about your experience, Chica?
Well, I'm from Los Angeles, and it means a lot to me to be on this bus. In Los Angeles, I developed affordable housing for very low-income families in the Figueroa corridor. That's in Midtown, actually pretty close to downtown Los Angeles. It's one of the oldest areas, from the Staples Center on the north down 3 miles to USC. And there's an incredible number of old buildings and opportunities to build new. And that's what Esperanza has been doing for 20 years. And so I'm most grateful to have that opportunity, and then to see the kind of housing and the kinds of programs that we have seen in these 9 states. We were at Sister's Place this morning, and that was just a terrific experience of seeing what housing can be for homeless single parents. Women that have children and they're on the street in shelters, maybe in their cars, and then they get into permanent housing. And it was just, and this is through federal programs. These programs can only work because you have federal, state, and local money coming in public-private partnerships. And this kind of arrangement is extremely important, and it's something to see. The other thing is that there's a lot of senior subsidized housing, which is tremendous. And one of the places that we were at the other evening, this lovely woman came over to tell us that she lived in senior housing. She lived on $946 a month, but she had reasonable rent, she had Medicaid, she had opportunities, so she decided to go to all the other residents and come to them, and she collected $20. That, I'm mixing my stories. She gave us $10 of her own money. That's 1% of her income. And I kept thinking about 1%, and we've been talking about the 1%ers and the 2%ers. This was the lady down on the bottom on the 1%, and she gave us $10 out of her $946. Then there was another woman, also in senior housing, who went around and collected from her neighbors. And from a number of neighbors, we had $20. I mean, that was a way, really just giving the widow's mite, and it really was a story. This has just been a remarkable experience, and it's one that I will carry with me for many, many years. and I'm 81.
Sister Mary Ellen is a daughter of Charity who works at Network. Yeah, Daughters of Charity, okay. Who works at Network at our office and is one of our lobbyists. Mary Ellen, do you want to chat about yours?
Good evening. Good evening. Good afternoon. As she said, I'm a daughter of Charity, and as Daughters of Charity, we take a fourth vow, and that's service to the poor. So since my joining the Daughters of Charity, I have ministered in East St. Louis, Illinois. I don't know how many of you are familiar with that. Google it. It's a third world country in the Midwest. El Paso, I've worked on the border with asylum seekers, and I've worked down in the Bayou La Battery post-Katrina and post-BP oil spill. So when we were kind of devastated by what was happening was going on with the Vatican and the Ryan budget, and this bus trip came up, the idea to me of driving around the country, holding up Jesus Christ in the person of the poor, holding up those who serve Jesus in the person of the poor, I said, I want on board. Get me up, sign me up, absolutely. What I didn't expect is when we would go around and we would meet people like you. We thought well, we would be spreading the gospel message. What we found is we were bringing God to God, because your response to us shows us that you're on the same page. It's not like sometimes in Washington we get polarized or centralized and think, they don't know what's going on out there, we have to tell them. But what I've learned is, yes, God's message reaches everywhere and everyone knows. Our job is to move it, get it more so than the people in this room and beyond. I one time heard a lecture by Mary Robinson. She's the first president of Ireland, female president of Ireland. And she did a lot of work after she left the presidency with the African farmers. And she was explaining to us why the African farmers remain poor. And what she said is, they have no seasons. What happens is they go for long periods of blistering heat, and the ground gets hard and it gets caked. So the farmers can't plant, because the only thing that interrupts this blistering heat is a deluge of rainstorms. They don't get seasons. They get blistering heat with, they have no knowledge of when the rainstorms are going to come, so they don't know when to plan, they don't know when to plant, they can't plan for a future. So I was considering that with Americans poor. It's very similar here, but in the sense of how we provide for each other. Poor people will go for long periods of drought. They will go without, they will go with nothing, and then all of a sudden a catastrophe hits, right? And what do we do when Katrina happens or BP oil spill? We race down there, we throw money, we throw love, we're concerned, and then life takes us back to our own life, right? We have our own issues, and that's a very natural thing, but that just perpetuates the poverty in America, because they go again for long periods without that type of a rainstorm, if you will, the deluge of the money. They don't know how to absorb it, they don't know how to use it for the future, and it gets wasted. But the safety net programs that would be cut in the Ryan Act, or the safety net programs that we presently have, the programs that we've seen, provide for some type of ability to plan for the future for these impoverished people of our country. Because people need to eat, people need health care, people need education so that they can plan for their future, so they can plant seeds that will take them up out of poverty. When the Ryan budget, if the Ryan budget or budgets like it were to go through, people would be without these programs that enable them to get from catastrophe to catastrophe. So for us, it's very important that we understand that maybe the Ryan budget didn't pass, or pass the House, but it's never going to pass. The reality is it can't start there. So what we did, looking forward to the election, is at Network, we asked everybody throughout the nation. We had 50 different teams, if you will, address people in 50 different states. And we asked many of you, and many of you here in this room may have participated. We had to have conversations. We had to come together as citizens, have conversations, tell us what you see in your state, what you see in the world, what you see in the nation, particularly in the nation. We didn't address global so much. When we asked you to tell us what you see the problems are and what you'd like the legislature to do about it.